What's going on, everybody? Marvel Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. And today, folks, we'll be looking at Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 65. And today's title is Detention. And last issue, we saw Spider-Man defeat Carnage last issue, but rather it was Peter Parker. We haven't seen Peter Parker suit up as Spider-Man in a long time. And we saw last issue after defeating Carnage, he vowed to Mary Jane that he would not become Spider-Man anymore, that he would not dress up as Spider-Man, because he's grieving the loss of Gwen Stacy, as we see on the cover here today. Gwen Stacy was killed by Carnage, and unfortunately, we're having to see the ramifications of the psyche of Peter Parker. I mean, he is sitting in this detention room and he has nothing to say. He's like staring into space here. But we see that we're going to have Kong, Flash Thompson, Peter Parker, Liz Allen, and Mary Jane Watson. They're all in detention, and they're in detention for a reason, and we're going to find out exactly why. And we see that Flash Thompson's going to break the ice and basically start whispering to Kong here and says, "Hey man, did you go to the mall?" And we see Kong says no. And then we're going to see Flash and Mary Jane begin to argue against themselves here. We see Flash Thompson calling Mary Jane a crazy woman. And then they're like, "What's wrong with Pete?" He said, "I think he's dead." And then Mary Jane's going to come to the defense of Peter Parker and says, "What the F is wrong with you?" He said, "What?" And then she says, "You're deranged, you're sick. You're the reason we're all stuck in here all day. You, and you still don't get it." He said, "We're stuck in here because you're crazy." He said, "You know what you did." He said, "What did I do?" All right, so yesterday at school, we see that the principal was helping Peter Parker clean out Gwen Stacy's locker. And he says, "Look, Peter, I know how you're feeling. And how's your aunt doing? How's she holding up?" And Peter says, "I don't know. Not, it sucks." And he said, "Well, if you ever need to talk to anyone, do feel free to think of my office as a place you can come." He said, "Yeah, okay." And so we see that Peter Parker is allowed to get into Gwen Stacy's locker. And we see that Liz Allen comes and checks on Peter and Mary Jane here. And what we're going to see is Mary Jane's like, "Oh my gosh." Peter's like, "What?" She picks up a photo and it's a picture of all three of them. And then she's like, "Oh man, it was a picture of us." He said, "When was that from?" He said, "When we skipped school that time." He said, "She really did like us." He said, "You okay?" He said, "Yeah, just give me a minute." All of a sudden, bad timing. Here comes Flash Thompson and Kong. And he said, "What's up? What's all the drama? What's going on? Ooh, free stuff. Do we get to take what we want?" And Liz Allen's like, "Go away, Flash." He said, "Fine, fine. By the way, great job keeping an eye on her, Parker. Well done." All of a sudden, Mary Jane picks up a book and hits Flash Thompson right in the back of the head here. She said, "Take it back." He falls down on Kong, and then she's going to be crying and trying to rip his hair out. I mean, we see that this teacher's going to get involved. Peter Parker's trying to stop Mary Jane. Liz Allen's trying to stop Peter Parker. And then Peter Parker elbows this woman right in the face, causing her to slam right into the lockers. And that is how they are going to go into Saturday detention because of this incident right here with, Flash Thompson picking his nose where it doesn't belong. And so we see that Flash Thompson says it's Mary Jane's fault, and Mary Jane's like, "Shut up." So, "I really don't understand how your brain works, Flash." He said, "No, I'm asking seriously, none of your usual macho crap. I'm asking you, human being to human being, why do you act this way? I mean, I know you act this way to get attention and stuff, but I mean, a girl died. Someone died. She's dead. Gwen's dead, and you just keep busting on everyone like it's some big funny haha. I really want to know, why are you doing this? You know what, Mom? How about you pretend you know how to not talk for the rest of the day? How about that? He said, no, Flash. Fred. I really want to know. Oh, so his real name's Fred. He said, why are you being so obnoxious to us about this? Why don't you care? And what we're going to soon find out is that Flash Thompson had a crush on Gwen Stacy, and he was going to ask Peter Parker. Remember way back when Flash Thompson wanted to ask Peter Parker a question? Well, that was the question. That was the question, y'all. The question was, how can I ask Gwen Stacy out? That was the question. So we see here, he's like, you know what? You don't know. Beep. So he walks out. And 3 hours later, Flash is nowhere to be seen. And Kong's like, I guess he ain't coming back. And Mary Jane's, I thought I was going to get through with him. And Kong says, well, he's not much of a bad guy. And then Peter's like, yes, he is. Peter finally speaks up. And he says, Kong, I've known Flash Thompson since I was 7 years old. And I've met a lot of bad people. He is a bad person. So Peter Parker's going to go into all this philosophy here about how the human race is flawed. There's evil people in the world. And we good people are just waiting to be stepped on. And he says, this is why Gwen is dead. This is why Harry is gone. This is why half of us don't have parents anymore, because good people don't get to be happy. And sometimes they don't get to live. He said, we just sit and wait for one of these evil, two-faced, greedy liars to step up on our heads. He said, do you think I'm a bad person? He said, listen, Kong, you are half the man that Flash Thompson is. And you just let Flash Thompson bully you around. He hangs out with you because he's on an ego trip. And then he says, and I'm just nothing. But Mary Jane says, what about Spider-Man? And she said, uh-oh, I should have not said that. Peter's like, what did you do? And he runs out of the classroom, and Mary Jane's going to follow. So, Peter, wait up. She's following him in the hallway here. Peter is then going to open up the window, leap out the window, and we see Mary Jane sneaks on by past the principal, and she's knocking on the door of the roof here. Rather, it's not the window, but the roof. And Peter's standing on the ledge of the building. He said, Peter, I'm sorry. He said, I'm not mad at you. She said, then what are you? He said, I've just had it, MJ. It's too much. Spider-Man, all this, I've totally failed MJ. I can't beat them. I don't know what else to do. I didn't save Gwen. I didn't save Gwen's father. I couldn't help Harry Osborn. Oh, and there's my Uncle Ben, who, and Mary Jane says, if you were there at any of those places, you would have. You weren't there. This isn't these things. Not everything in the world is your fault, Peter. Why are you making it your fault? And so she's trying her best to reason with Peter Parker here. And he says, I know things will get better. I just know they will. He says, because people like you, you're a hero, Peter. He leaps off the building here. He says, oh, Peter, come on. And he's going to be just trying to collect his thoughts. And all of a sudden, he's going to notice that there's a mugging taking place right below. These three crooks are trying to take this woman's purse. And her life is in danger. And he's like, oh, man, what am I going to do? She's screaming. He finally is going to put on this mask or whatever, and he's going to stop these villains here. I mean, he's like, this is what you want your life to be. Don't kill you? You were going to kill this woman for nothing. You were going to take her money and hurt her. He said, you have to change. You hear me? Today. And he's like, apologize. And they both said, I'm sorry. He said, now do something with your life. And they run off, and this woman hugs Peter Parker, and it might connect with Peter Parker. Finally, he's like, you know what? Maybe I am a hero after all. He said, man, why did I just do that? He said, I'm sorry, Gwen. And so next issue, we see that Wolverine is popping up. So that's going to be cool. For the first time ever, Wolverine is going to pop up in this series. I'm looking forward to seeing that. and exactly how he's going to play into things. So we'll be looking at that in issue number 66. But before then, go ahead now and give this video a like. Comment down below what you liked about this issue. Subscribe if you have not, and I will see y'all in the next one.